Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. So, a little bit of interesting news that just came out is that Kingsley Coman is about to extend his contract for 17 million euros before tax, which, give or take, is about 8.5 million. It's usually 50%, so 8.5 million after tax, which raises a few very, very interesting questions, obviously, because it's a large contract. I think that makes him like the third highest paid player at Bayern. I think the only ones that are above him, obviously Lewandowski, and I think Neuer. Lewandowski, Neuer, and Sane, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I think those three are like the only ones that are now above him. So they're like, I think Thomas Muller's on like 15 million, something like that. But at the end of the day, he's getting a new contract, a bumper contract, as in like, the news was that like he was going to leave Bayern. Well, now he's apparently going to stay, according to L'Equipe. Which makes things very, very interesting because obviously, if his contract now goes to 17 million, a lot of the other players that are currently negotiating for new contracts, like for example, Sane has been negotiating, sorry, not Sane, Gnabry has been negotiating for a new contract for a while now. He's gonna say, well, if Coman's getting 17 million, I want 17 million too. We had a few players extend last season. I think it was Goretzka that extended last season. Sula, obviously, he's been in kind of this limbo, but I think he's gonna leave. Honestly, I don't think he's gonna, no matter what kind of offer we give him, I think he's gonna leave. So I don't think that the money really matters to him. I think he kind of wants to play in the Premier League. So we'll see what happens with him. But just in general, we obviously were linked with a lot of wingers. Anthony. Who else were we linked with? I've seen us linked with. Who else have we been linked with? Basically, as replacement for Coman. Names kind of escape me right now, but we have been linked to several wingers or several attackers more so than anything. Now, a few news as well. Apparently, as I say apparently because I don't believe it, but apparently because it's kind of like a news that happens every single year. But Reschke, former head of scout, was it the head of scout or technical director? Anyway, Reschke, who previously worked at Bayern and now represents a lot of players on the market, he basically said that Bayern is saving up for a big transfer in the summer. Now, the reason why I'm like, come on now, we hear that every single year, and that's exactly the reason why I'm like kind of skeptical on it, because we hear that every single year, and it really depends on what constitutes as a big transfer, because it's still Corona season. We had a little bit of audience in the stadium, but now things are kind of becoming empty again. So my thought is, what really constitutes to a big transfer? Are we talking like, Lucas Hernandez level, who's obviously still our most expensive player signing of all time at 18 million, or are we talking about like a Upamecano level? Like a 30 to 40 million. Are we talking about that kind of level? Or are we talking about like 60, 70, 80 million level? Because it did seem, and I'm being very hesitant of saying this, but it did seem, now it could just be a one-off outlier, but it did seem that we were spending more, which has always been a big criticism, because we actually have the money, we just don't spend it. Whereas other clubs, they don't have the money and they still spend it. That's always been a big criticism. Like when you look at our financials every AGM, you see that we've got a lot more money that we could spend, like a lot more money that we could spend and still be positive, but we don't. And it's always the famous war chest, but I don't like it. I don't like it because we've had glaring weaknesses in the team in certain positions for a while, and sometimes I get the attitude you don't want to overspend, but sometimes to get a target, to just make sure, okay, we get that target, you have to overspend. Now, with Dest, you'll know, you've seen my videos during when we were linked to him. I didn't care too much, but the club clearly wanted him. The club clearly wanted him. They were, ready and waiting to get him, but they were hesitant with the fee, hesitant here with the salary, and then suddenly he was gone to Barcelona. Now that's kind of my fault. Like if the club wants him, and I don't know how much they wanted him, but they, based on the news, every single day it was like, yeah, we're trying. If the club wants a player, we really should like sometimes, not always, but especially for positions that there are glaring weaknesses, such as the right back position. Sometimes we should put our foot down and just say, here, take the money, here, what you asked for, but note that this won't happen again. And note that if ever you want a player of ours, it's going to cost a pretty penny. It kind of, sometimes you got to show a little bit of like, not arrogance per se, but you kind of got to just be like, here's what you asked for, but just know it'll have consequences in that sense. Yeah, in that sense. But hey, that's just my take. What do you think about Sané earning 17 million? I keep saying Sané. What do you think? Oh, because Sané was like the big signing from last year, and it seems like every year a winger is the hot topic. So it was Sané last year, and then it's Gnabry and Coman this year, but to a lesser extent Gnabry, because Gnabry apparently he is going to sign. That's what they've been saying for months now, and he still hasn't signed. And apparently Coman was not going to sign, and now he apparently has signed. My thoughts on Coman are pretty simple. I think most people already know them, so I won't have to really go into them too much. But the thing with Coman is this, right? Surprisingly shows up in big games. But my issue with him is not enough goal contributions. Like even last year during his purple patch, where like he was like scoring, assisting every single week. That was it. That was it. After that, did he pass? Did he assist? Did he score? I don't think so. Now, my thought with Coman has always been the same. Everything is great. Everything is fantastic until the final ball. Until like he'll beat his man, create space for himself, and then he hits it into rosette. It's like, come on, you did the hard part. Why do you not do the simple part? Right, but never was the case. Unfortunately, just never happened, and it's a bit frustrating. But as I said, shows in big games. The argument could be made that, well, you could be spending 25, 30 million on a new player, or maybe more than that on a new player, because especially a winger. Wingers are expensive, so you could be spending upwards of that, let's say 40 million on a new player, and then you still have to pay them a salary of, say, let's say 10 million. It just kind of becomes one of those situations like, are you, you're kind of saving money, a little, in some regards, but also you're not really, you know what you've got with Coleman. Now, of course, the big thing is obviously his injury record that hasn't really improved. Some may say it has, some may say it hasn't. We'll see I'll be the judge of that in like 2 years' time. But yeah, with that said, though, ladies and gentlemen, that's my thoughts on Coleman extending his contract. Let me know what you all think. I'll see all of you in the next one. Until then, have a nice day. Peace out. And